We have added some buttons at the top of our page using a table and CSS to format each cell. We are now going to add more links to other pages in the aside or sidebar for our page. We're going to use an unordered list, a UL, to hold each link, and this will make bullet points. If we used an OL, an ordered list, then it would make numbered items, and the web page would take care of counting the items for us, so we wouldn't have to type the numbers in. To be able to see our toolbar for inserting the bullet points, we have to go to View, Toolbars, and Common. On your screen, you may easily see the option to put some bullet points in. In mine, I have to drop down and choose bullets here. Before I do that, I want to highlight the text in the aside section and then insert my bullets. The bullets that I'm going to use will be About Us. When I press enter, it will pop up a new bullet for me. And I'm going to have location, and we will put a Google map in this later. And then I'm going to have order form, and we will create, using JavaScript, something that lets us have users choosing the items they can order. And finally, we should really have a privacy section that tells them how we will use their information. Notice in the code view that inside our aside tag, so here, the closing tag, we now have a UL and a closing UL, so it's an unordered list, or in other words, a bullet list. And each item starts with LI for list item and close LI. Again, Microsoft Expressions has put in these span tags, and we don't really want them there. An easy way to deal with them is to click in the span, highlight it at the top of the code view, and then choose to remove the tag. And we should do this for each of the extra span tags that have been inserted by Microsoft Expressions. So we now have our sidebar with some information in. In order for our sidebar to appear at the side of the page, we have to switch on the equivalent of word wrap that you would use in Microsoft Word. We do this by applying the float style. We can float to the left, which is normal, or we could choose to float to the right for a slightly different style of web page navigation. And we must set the clear so that the size of the bar will then match up with the size of the article, even if they have different amounts of text in them. So we're going to go to New Style. We're going to make sure that that is being applied not to New Style 1, but to the aside. And that is one of the options that comes up in our list. We could choose some specific issues about how things display. For example, our list could be styled with positioning and images. But for the moment, I'll keep things simple just by choosing a different font family, a reasonable font size, and a nice dark font color. The whole aside is going to have a background color, and I'm going to contrast this with my buttons at the top of the page, so a very pale yellow. But the most important thing of all is to make sure that the layout has float set to left or right, clear set to the opposite. So I've chosen left for float, I need to choose right for clear. And I'm going to apply that and say OK. And notice now that this is a bar at the side of the page and the other parts are now text wrapped around it. I can go back to my aside and I can edit the style. The other thing that I can do is to go to box and choose to have a little bit of padding between this box and the other parts that butt up against it. So for example, I could choose to put a margin in of perhaps 20 pixels and apply, and we can see that there is now some spare space around my sidebar. We perhaps don't want to have spare space on the side next to the browser edge, so instead of same for all, I will have them all 20 with the exception of the left hand side, which I will have set to 0.